so I'll be facilitating this session. So thank you. Just to kickstart then, by means of introduction, if you can just give a brief introduction and just a quick overview with regards to what will be your point of view into this discussion. Thanks. We'll start.
A very good I think it is afternoon already, isn't it? Time goes by so fast. My name is Elaine Brass. I am the CEO of the Health and Welfare Sector Education and Training Authority, and I am hoping to be a representative of government, to give some perspectives on post-school education and training, access, what are we doing in that particular space. We have our successes be, where have our challenges been? Thank you.
Cool, thank you. Paul?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pearl. I think I've mentioned this now before. So I'm the Socio-Economic Development Manager for Redefined Properties. And I know it's such a long term, but it is us emphasizing the evolution of CSI to SCD. Because we want to get to a point where we don't just go and give away comfort packs and we give away all the food packages and smile, but we want to co-create solutions that are sustainable, that will actually get beneficiaries to be self-sustainable and get to a point where they can be able to create new solutions to impact the communities in which we operate. So out of this, I'd really like to get a whole lot of more partnerships, because as we understand, we can't do it all by ourselves.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Khethiwe Zulu, and I'm an author and a board game developer of a project called South African History Retold. I will be representing today, I'm hoping to be the voice of the SMMEs, having been in the space as an SMME, as well as somebody who has supported SMMEs in the past. So that's my perspective.
Thank you for that. So if we stick with that theme, and one of the earlier questions coming through is, how do we ensure that the impact that we have, the social impact that we have today, from your different lenses, becomes a meaningful engagement with the communities and stuff that we have?
I would say the best strategy is to really understand the multi-dimensional challenges that each community faces. It's not all the same, and it's about us understanding the scale at which we need to create these interventions for our beneficiaries. And we look into the future. We look into education as a key focus, yeah. And are we getting a new facilitator? Great. I think it is very important for us to understand our communities and also try find the best ways to work with each other. Yeah. Leverage off skills and resources so that it doesn't actually become a burden for us to contribute in our communities.
Yeah. So on that, so what is, if we go think about sustainability, but how do we become sustainable collaborative as opposed to sustainable collaboration? So the action word on that, I think that must be also your take on that?
If I'm understanding your question correctly, I hope I am. From an SMME perspective, we need to start getting serious about the needs of SMMEs. And when I say serious about it is, if we, at this point in time, after so long, after democracy, we still think SMMEs are going to know their business, know how finance is run in their business, how marketing is done in their business, how HR and labor laws act, and if we think an SMME from Umlazi is going to know their business as well as how to support their business, we're not thinking seriously about SMMEs. We haven't taken seriously the needs that they have. The needs that SMMEs have is the back end of SMMEs. Yeah. You need to hand over the technicalities of SMMEs so that they think about only their jobs, their business, and how to sell their merchandise. And if we start to crack down on those collaborative needs of SMMEs, then you will know that what I need is not money anymore. I need somebody to do a tax return that I don't know how to do.
Cool, thank you. Yes, Mark.
I was, but because I was late from another room.
Oops, that's me. Thank you. I'm handing over.
Thank you.
The microphone on? Yes, it is. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Apologies, I got delayed in a different room that I was in earlier. So wonderful to meet you all and to chat with you. I think we'll jump straight into it. I assume you all had a chance to introduce yourselves and so forth. I'll do a very quick introduction. My name is Khalil Patel. I'm the founder of Strategic Shift Solutions, bit of a tongue twister, and we specialize in services related to change management, project management, and skills development. And this is on the back of about 18 years of experience within the public sector in the NGO space, in terms of trying to help young people especially develop into being able to be productive citizens of our country. And that's really the backdrop for this conversation in terms of transformational efforts that we're trying to achieve. And so I think, we can't have this conversation without discussing a few key themes, and those include, for example, as you were discussing earlier, the barriers that young people face in this country to achieving their specific goals. And a pet project of mine obviously focuses around soft skills, and I'd like to see if the group, I don't think we have a huge audience, unfortunately, at the moment, but I want to make sure that we have participation. And if persons here, from business or from industry could elaborate from their perspectives around the criticality around soft skills requirements for young people who'd like to enter into the world of work and so forth.
Thank you very much. I think we have come to a point where soft skills is quite critical in our world and our world of work. And we have found that some of the barriers to entry into employment is the lack of soft skills. But more than that is the socio-economic challenges that a young person has faced. So more and more we are finding that in line with curriculum, I know some institutions take a very long time to change curriculum, but there is definitely the thought change in government at the moment to recognize the importance of soft skills, because we do have jobs available, we have a high unemployment rate, and we have the skills gap. And often you talk to organizations and they actually say, I'm willing to employ someone with a great attitude because I can teach them various skills. And in the workplace, employers can access skills development funding and give their employees various skills. So skills can be learned all the time. What we have, an example, a really good example, talking about those two elements, social economic challenges as well as soft skills, is we have through the HWC and Higher Health, we have developed a occupationally developed skills program called Civic Education. And with the civic education, we address societal needs. So, for instance, there are subjects like gender-based violence, sexually transmitted diseases, as well as substance abuse. And then, of course, there's financial literacy, climate literacy, and soft skills. So this particular program addresses the challenges society faces and allows a young person to understand those particular challenges, and so gives them that skill, so when they enter into the workplace and when they go back to their communities, they are improving their general society, which then would improve a whole lot of things, as you can imagine. And then, of course, the soft skills. So this particular program addresses 10 key soft skills that is needed in the workplace. Some of the earlier conversations was presentation skills, time management, leadership, understanding how you operate in a workplace, because it is, unfortunately, especially the corporates, there are certain ways that you need to operate within that corporate.
Great, thank you. And I want to get to our other panelists, but before I move on from you, I just want to ask quickly, how do people access those programs?
Well, at the moment, it's actually even endorsed by UNESCO, and it is also going internationally. So this particular program is available widely in the CT college space, the TVET college space, and it's getting into the curriculum at universities. In fact, we are looking at Stellenbosch University, UNISA, where they will ensure that as part of your 3-year degree, you have to also do the civic education. But in fact, it's not only for post-school education and training, it is for every citizen in this country to actually understand some of the challenges as citizens in this country we are facing, and how can we cope with it, yeah, just understanding those particular ills. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. And I think on that backdrop, I want to go to the audience very briefly and check in if there are any questions you have specifically related to this topic of educational access. Gentleman with the striped shirt.
Do you want to use?
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it. A member of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Speaker, thank you ever so much. The first question goes to you, Elaine. In all the sector and education and training authorities, we are doing wonderful work that I have to tell you now. We appreciate what your SITA is doing. The question goes to you. I'm observing a crisis of cadre deployment. You spoke so passionate about cadres that don't know what they're doing. What is the state trying to achieve with cadre deployment? Putting someone in an activation position which they do not have an idea on. I mean, we meet these people every day. I mean, only yesterday we were attending a conference and one of the guest speakers was someone of a high portfolio. They were reading notes based on what communication prepared for them. You can tell it's not relatable. They don't know what they're doing. Just talk us through about this cadre deployment, particularly in the sector education and training authorities. The second question goes to you, Madam Pearl. Yes, Pearl, I captured your name here. I speak informed, and you know a say that says, you know your own truth, I know my own truth, and one colleague of mine. What is it with this proposed concept refinement from corporate? Civil society organizations are proposing to corporate wonderful concepts, but because they have the financial muscle and a loud voice, some of the times they steal these concepts. I speak passionate. I nearly committed suicide 2 years ago, where a project was adopted by a massive corporate, a duplicate of exactly what we proposed to them. Is there any ethical protection for civil society organizations? I know suicide is a heavy word, but looking at what they've done with the work that we proposed, I felt so offended. What is it with corporate taking advantage of civil society organizations? No need to worry, colleagues, I'm healed now, I'm proper, that's why I'm here. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You go first, or should I?
No, go ahead.
I'm so glad that you actually brought up that topic, because when it comes to conceptualization, and here comes this brilliant SMME that proposes this solution, and we find that as a corporate, this is going to work for us, this is a brilliant thing, let's go ahead, and us going ahead is we forget all about you. That is the challenge. But we also would like to ensure that we educate SMMEs about basic NDAs. Basic basic non-disclosure agreements. That's where it starts. Because further than that, it's going to be your word against mine. And if we don't get to a point where we educate our SMMEs that you need to IP, patent your idea before you can go to a corporate, protect yourself. And this is the reason why I say I speak firmly and very passionately about this, because at our education hubs, we've got SMME programs. And within our SMME programs, we teach these things to say it's not only about you now managing this business that you have, it's not only about now going further to find investments, but how do you prepare yourself to get yourself to a stage or to an audience that will buy into your idea. So education, and also us, for example, as persons, as people that have got business ideas, let us also empower ourselves. Let us also take the responsibility to say, I've got this brilliant idea. I know what has happened, for example, to this gentleman that started the Please Call. It's been a case that took forever, but because he firmly understood in what he was believing in and understanding that now I need to open my eyes, that from the beginning, a basic, simple NDA is very important before you go pitch any idea, even to a colleague, even to your next door neighbor. Be very careful.
Thank you so much. Over to my right.
Oh.
Yeah, there was.
Should I answer the question? To be honest with you, I don't think anyone believes in cadre employment. It does not work, and it actually sets up people for failure, and it sets up structures and systems for failure. As one of the seaters, one of 21 seaters, I know, because I know the majority of the CEOs, we do not believe in that. We are passionate about skills development. We are, in terms of the various legislation that we follow and the pathway that we are following, we are looking at quality education, and hence also the formation of the QCTO and occupationally developed qualifications, where in order to get the qualification, you have to write a ESA examination, which is the same examination throughout the country, so that anyone who holds a certificate with regards to that qualification understands the quality behind that. So absolutely, it is actually quite sad that that is still happening, and it doesn't give much comfort and credibility in our various systems when we do have cadre employments. However, it is very political, and I don't think it'll end anytime soon. But as long as seaters, as long as good people like your organization and other organizations are passionate about real skills development and education, we are hoping that we're going to make strides. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that response. And I think it's important that we as civil society and others start holding government accountable. Because like you're saying, you can do so much in terms of education, in terms of empowerment and informing people. But we do operate within a political sphere, and that needs to be managed. And I think it's really, people holding government and authorities to account, that will go a long way in stemming the tide of cadre deployment and other corrupt practices that we might find pervasive in our societies at present. Great. So, moving from there, in terms of, we've explored a little bit around soft skills programs, the type of work that the SETAs offer. I want to really get a sense from this panel in terms of the role of public-private partnerships, and what influence and what are the strengths that we can harness from those public-private partnerships. I'm going to start at the end, and then I think if each panelist can just give us a quick rundown in terms of your view, in terms of the value of public-private partnerships, and also how do we foment those partnerships and harness positive outcomes from them.
I want to start with, there needs to be a degree of seriousness about the things that we propose. if we're going to start at the backdrop of we're just going to have conversation, then go away, and we're just going to carry on as normal, then we're not going to get anywhere. And when I say seriousness, it has to come from policy level, because there are things that can be done through those partnerships that can be very beneficial. One, I don't understand why the public-private sector is not helping the government to write even curriculum, so that even what they teach at school is what is needed by industry. Why isn't that collaboration there? We are past the time of asking for money to build a school or to install a toilet. We are into a phase now where we say, if there's a shortage of teachers and there's a corporate nearby, shouldn't it be part of the CSI to loan a scientist to teach a science class? Where are those collaborations that are grassroots, that I can stand up today and implement or help with? Where are the corporates that can go on a TV show like the late maths teacher, rest his soul, and do extra classes on something that doesn't need data, that is so expensive, like a TV program? Where's the SABC in here, that is our public broadcaster? There's so many questions that I sit with that I don't know why they are not happening at policy level.
I think, if I may, just on that point, I mean, it's critical, the area that you're speaking about in terms of developing education. It does happen, and I think this is where the NGO sector is so important. In my view, in my work in the NGO sector, it really forms that fulcrum around which we can bring around public and private sectors to work together. In the work that I've carried out, for example, we've done soft skills program, integration of soft skills curriculum into the TVET college system, working with DHET, for example. We've also worked in the space of the electric vehicle curriculum in terms of working with automotive manufacturers as well as educational partners, again with DHET, the QCTO, etc., to develop a set of frameworks for EV skills specifically in order to help transition the automotive industry from manufacturing traditional petrol and diesel powered vehicles to electric vehicles. So I think there's a little bit of that happening, but it is far, far too little. So your point is really, really strong in that we need to make sure that those partnerships keep on growing, because it's critical. Industry requires skills, and if they're not going to come to the party and inform and educate or communicate their needs to education, it's never going to occur. It's not going to mysteriously find its way into curriculum unless we take proactive steps to do that.
And I'm not even talking about higher education. I'm talking about these kids that do 12 years of schooling and get out and not even be able to fix a tap.
Yes. 100%, thank you.
So I think I'm going to answer your question and answer your questions and tell a beautiful story while I'm at it. So with Redefine Properties, what we have done is, I've mentioned we moved from CSI and we've got into SED. And going into SED, one of our key focus areas is education. And within that education focus area, we've got SED metric that we use to measure impact. And we scale it according to saying this is a flagship, this is a secondary, this is an ad hoc initiative. And we do that by scaling the impact. And we use this by one metric that we call the number of individuals directly impacted. So we look at, for example, I'm telling the story now. So we've got land in Primrose, it's S&J property, it's mine. So we've got all this vacant land that wasn't used. If any of you understand the SED challenges in Primrose, you would still cry to see that in Germiston, you'll find women still using water that comes from a burst pipe to wash their clothing for their school children. To a point that we used that land to build a school. We're directly impacting 1,200 children. And that is a school that starts from grade R until matric. So we are in the property industry, and we're coming back to a point that was raised earlier to say, but then how do we get to a point where we actually make these children aware of the careers that are out there? In the property industry, there's very few people that will actually go to college to study asset management. And asset management is aligned to architecture, geology, and all other related studies. What we do as Redefine, we go and we do mentorship.
Perfect.
It comes little more. We do mentorship, and that helps with career guidance for these learners from grade 10 up until grade 12. From grade 12, we've partnered with SciBib that helps them to bring these soft skills that we are talking about. From there, we're working with SMMEs in Alex, trying to give them a space where they can be able to determine, is their business really productive in an economic space? We're giving them free space for a 12-month program. From there, we're going to charge them rental based on their turnover. Now they know what they do.
I know we're at time, so we'll pick up the conversation. I know we're going to have lunch after one more session, so please feel free to speak to our panelists and just interrogate them about more ideas and so forth that you'd want to speak about. Katie,
Sorry, I know Khethiwe asked me if there was anybody from education here in the department. Anybody here? No? Do you want to tell us why?
I just think it's a necessary conversation for them to hear.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that, have you tried before and that's why you're like, why they're not here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I will leave it there.
That's where I was getting at. Okay, cool.
Including proposing programs that are after school with a team of professionals in the different subjects and saying, bring the kids that we need. We have people that will not charge you a cent to do those after-school programs, and no, we were unsuccessful.
Okay, we're just going to make sure we write that. That's where I was getting at. Okay, is there anybody else that want to contribute before we
wrap up? Okay, so then I think we can just do a quick 30-second summary. Okay.
I can see you are burning to address the issue of the alignment of the private sector in QC2. I know that QC2 is doing some work with the private sector just to ease our limit. I think that's a big thing.
This is such an amazing subject, so we could talk for hours. But I actually, there were a couple of projects that have been so successful because of the private sector. And we actually can't have the impact without the private sector. And I must say, your company is absolutely stunning in terms of what it's doing. I just wanted to mention the Centers of Excellence. So there is a program that was born by the Department of Education and Training that is supported by CETAs with artisan development. So the TVET College then partners with industry, and together they work together to develop and qualify an artisan, and that is the way to do it, and that is how it is done in many countries that have ensured the skills gap has actually been closed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sherry?
Yeah, thanks, Khalil. Just one of my issues, I love the centers of specialization or excellence, but one of my issues is if you actually look at the funding model, the rest of the world in South Africa has a funding model of 206,000 Rand, whatever the number is, for apprentices. Effectively, the centers of specialization have quite a lot more, and that if we applied the same funding to everybody doing artisan training, potentially we could have much better outcomes and much better solutions. So I think we need to also address those kind of inequalities in South Africa. Thanks.
Thank you, Sherry. Okay, so Katie, are we on time?
Yeah, we good?
Do we have 30 seconds for quick?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, great. So to each of my panelists, I think if you can just give a 30-second takeaway of what you feel needs to happen. And it needs to be something that's realistic and something that we can actually achieve. We often talk of things that we can achieve within 5 days, and that's the project we must implement. What, in your opinion or in your view, is a 5-day turnaround project that we can implement to bring about this shift or change in relation to transforming the educational landscape in South Africa? Start again at the end.
Oh, thank you for that one, because that's an easy one to answer. Everything that has been said here needs to get to the desk of the education department. I want to echo your words. If I could have replayed what you said, the person who clapped was me there by the corner. Everything that has been said here needs to get to the desk of. There cannot be the barriers to this work that is being done.
So can we hold Sis Lindiwe? Can you take this for us when we give you the 5 points that we want to give you to the desk of the, okay? So here we go. Khethiwe, did you tell them about the stunning project that you work with and have not been able to get too far without just corporate funding and some people contributing? I mean, she has an amazing, amazing project that I want her to share. Quickly.
When the street names got changed in South Africa, I realized that I didn't know who the people that they've been changed to were. So I thought to myself, I'm going to go to an exclusive books and I'm going to get a book and I'm going to learn about all these people. That there wasn't a book. So I wrote one. 156 street names that have been changed, the names of who these people were. And when I launched the book, they said, where are the women? I said, I didn't name the streets. I just wrote about the streets that had already been named. But you know what, I'll do one. I did another one called South African History Retold, Women in the Liberation Struggle, with 100 unknown names of females who liberated our country, and turned both the books into a board game called South African History Retold, Did You Really Know? The only existing.
How many of us knew that? Okay, I knew, but how many of you knew that? And I think it's important for something like that, for corporates to buy and support you, to take it to the schools and universities and to the communities as well. So if there's any corporates that are here, please reach out to Khethiwe. It's an amazing project. It really needs to go out there. It's history retold.
Thank you, Khethiwe and Katie.
And that's my name, Khethiwe, as well.
I always remember that, and I've always got to like, okay, go ahead, Paul.
Okay, my key takeaway is I'm quite saddened by the fact that, you know, when Sis Khethiwe said it, and she said, where are those corporates? You know, where are those government employees or even government sectors that are interested in actually building the communities in which we operate? And we stand here, and I've got I wish I could share my SED AV so you can see the much that we do. But what I really understand is that we can't accomplish it alone. We need to be able to build ecosystems. If I've got resources, you've got the money, you've got the skills, you've got the time, we need to come together. And imagine if we can come together as 15 organizations to do one project, and then one says, okay, the bigger picture is let's build a university. Like I've said, maybe for example, I'm not saying, for example, Redefine has got land, you've got the programs, the other one's got a construction company, you have got all the other partners that can help to keep it running. Imagine one big program with us really leveraging off of our skills, our resources, and time. That is what I'm here to actually put out there, to say we are catalysts for good. That's what we stand for, but we can't do it alone. We need to work together to build sustainable ecosystems.
Okay. Thank you so much, Paul. Sherry, I see you wanted to jump in, and then we'll go to Elaine.
Yeah, thanks. It's just linked to the point. In Nelson Mandela Bay, there's an initiative that they're battling to get off the ground, but it's to take all of the big corporates that are there. So you've got like Coca-Cola, a lot of the OEMs, auto guys, to take their CSI spend and put it into one project that then benefits the local area. Imagine if we could do that nationwide. How cool would that be? Because it's huge money. Thanks.
We're starting an education hub at Benmore with SciBib. It's for students that are studying in the property industry. We've given them free space. We've given them all of this. The lease is in place. They are struggling to get someone to help them do the construction. The one person that they spoke to has now left the company. Now we're starting the conversation all over again. And all these students are now waiting. They're concerned. The mentorships programs are in place, but we are struggling to get other people to come on board. If we can understand that together, leveraging off of each other's time, resources, and the capabilities, we can do so much more.
Thank you, Paul. And I think, Katie, just a point here to take note of, and something Sherry and I have often had this discussion. There are pockets of excellence all over the place. And what we don't do particularly well or impactfully enough is collaborate and work together in order to build better systems. And that's where change really needs to happen, in my view. And I see all the heads nodding as well. And like I said, I know this is a conversation Sherry and I have spoken about countless times. So yeah, that's a real key point for the next summit that we need to look at. But Elaine, your closing words.
Thank you. Private sector is definitely willing. We just need to knock on their doors and get them on board. The government is willing. Let me talk from a CETA perspective. We are willing. In fact, in April, we launched the CETA Integrated High Impact Projects, where now we have a different landscape with regards to CETAs, and intentionally we are collaborating together for high impact projects. I have seen projects where 6 or more CETAs have come together. Now imagine the resources of 6 CETAs in one particular project, the impact that can be had.
Wonderful, thank you so much. So in conclusion, I think we've had a really robust conversation about what needs to happen, what should happen, and I'm glad you've got everything recorded, Katie. We now need to make ourselves accountable, firstly, to drive these changes forward and to make sure that we ultimately, push the private sector, hold the public sector to account in order to bring about the future that we envision, but that now needs to be realized. Thank you.
So what I want to put out there, and I think I'm sharing this in the other rooms as well, is that we want to host like smaller things, even if it's round tables with our panelists, because of course it's sector specific and conversation specific. And even if you can zoom in Khethiwe from Durban, guys, Khethiwe came from Durban as well. It's that let's do that, and even if we have 3 stories that we can create some kind of impact or link. I mean, Elaine, we've done so well together with, connecting people. Let's do that. So within the year, and when we host the next summit, we are able to we're actually able to quantify and qualify what the panel discussion. So it's really not just talk shops. So if I can get panelists to commit to kind of meeting us on a regular basis to see how we fare as well. That would be great. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.